Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
I'm condemned to the long, endless night, and I live in the absence of light.
Alice Cooper and Paranormal. Welcome to the very first episode of Paranormal After Dark, the pilot episode, here with me, the Roadie. Hope you enjoy this show. It's going to be all things paranormal, cryptids, ghosts, UFOs, whatever I can find to talk about and people to talk with about. So the pilot episode is going to feature Mark Wallbank from Paranormal New Zealand, Haunted Auckland, from a chat that I did with Mark in 2022 for Halloween. There's some excerpts, different things here. We're going to have a chat about that, play some good rock and roll as well. And yeah, hopefully it goes well, and there'll be some more of these episodes down the track. I do have another one recorded with Mark, which I'll tell you about a little bit later on. So, welcome, Mark.
Oh, lovely. Thanks for having me on the show, mate. It's awesome.
So, mate, what is paranormal activity? What is the paranormal? And have you ever captured any activity? Have you felt it, seen it, heard it? What is the paranormal, I guess I'm asking?
Well, yeah, we have actually. We've had bits and pieces. I mean, I have my moments where I'm quite doubtful and skeptical about things, but then things happen and it just throws you back a bit and it gets you thinking and you start reevaluating things. And I know sort of now, I'm at the point now where I know that these things do exist. They do exist and they are out there, but we just don't understand them yet.
Yeah, so, what are they? Yeah.
So what are they? I mean, I know I'm at the point now where I believe that well, I won't say believe actually. I know that they exist because you've got thousands, hundreds, thousands, millions of people all over the world, and every part of the world have experienced ghosts. Millions of them. And this has been going back thousands of years. And it's been well documented, way before that. So it's in cave paintings and stories and literature, and it's the stories that have been handed down through generations. So, I mean, something's happening. People are seeing something, and I don't believe for 1 minute that everybody's just crazy or stoned or making it up or just lying or misinterpreting things. I believe that people are seeing something, and sure, a small percentage of them will be misinterpreting or hallucinating or whatever, but I don't believe they all are.
Have you ever seen anyone else's research that's given you a moment where you've gone, oh hell, that could be it, or not? Have you just? It's like you must have some idea of what you think some things are.
Well, yeah, I do a lot of reading and I do follow a lot of other teams. We sort of network with teams all over the world and we keep in touch and we share evidence and findings and footage and experiences, and you sort of learn from each other. And I mean, as far as actual evidence that we've gathered ourselves, it's only been little bits and pieces. It's been nothing like what you see on television and in the movies and all that. It's nothing like that. Reality in this field is nothing like what you see on the internet or in the movies. Paranormal activity is actually quite rare, and you have to really be in the right place at the right time to experience it, which is why we go back to locations numerous times. We keep going back. The more times you go back, the more chance you've got of actually capturing something.
I'm a Star Trek nut, okay? I'll admit that now, and everyone will say, oh, that's why you think the way you do. But, I've often thought, I've seen episodes of Star Trek where they end up in an alternative universe and a couple of them where the universes happen to touch for a few seconds and they see something and then move back. And is that what we're seeing as ghosts? I mean, it's hard because as you say, you don't get any hard, like if you get something, it's there fleetingly and then it's gone. It's not like you see in the movies where the ghost is there or the spirit's there and it's there for a long time. And to me, I'm like, shit, is that what's happening? The universes are literally touching each other and you're literally seeing something for a few seconds and then back. And then that makes you wonder, what the hell are they seeing? Are they walking along and seeing you standing there with a camera?
Yeah. Oh, I think it changes. It's we've had cases where we've been in a room and we seem to be interacting with something, and we ask them the questions, like, can you see us? Can you see us? And they say, yes, we can. But then when we ask, are you in the room with us? They say no. So it gives us the idea that maybe they're in some other dimension that we don't know about or don't understand yet, and that they are able to see us, and we're able to communicate or interact and cross over there. So perhaps yes, but there is also what are known as residual hauntings as well, where it's thought that maybe people and actions and voices and things like that can be recorded into the building somehow. That's an old theory that goes way back. It's called the stone tape theory, and I think it's quite a valid one. I think it is possible that moments in time can be captured. I mean, it doesn't have to be 100 years old or 1,000 years old. It could be right now. We could be recorded in our houses right now, just for a few seconds or a moment. So I don't believe that all hauntings are intelligent and fully interactive. I think some of them can just be recordings replaying themselves on a loop. And the trick with that is to find out the pattern. When does that loop come around again? And if you can keep going back to places and keep finding these little patterns, you'll be able to be there when it happens next to record it.
And that, my friend, if you manage to do that, is going to be you're going to live in infamy, man, because that's going to be the moment where we can prove that there's residual recordings and you're able to record them. Imagine being able to record a residual recording and prove that it was, man. That'd be awesome.
And if you could follow that pattern, and then you could be at that place with your cameras all set up right at that moment and be ready for it to happen again. Perfect. Yeah.
It'd be amazing because you often hear of people saying, and I've seen it in you guys' research. I've seen it on the, shall we say it, the reality TV shows where witnesses will say, oh yes, in that room or in that corridor, you see somebody sitting in the chair or you see someone walking, all the time. And that's when you think, oh yeah, okay, that's a pattern of somebody walking at a certain time, at a certain place, every day. And I often think, well, if these guys are saying to these TV researchers, hey, I'm seeing it every day, why don't you set your bloody camera up at the time they see it instead of going in there in the middle of the night,
That's right.
And get it,
That's right. They don't seem to have any sort of schedule. They can sort of pop up whenever they want to.
This is Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie. I'm speaking with Mark Wallbank from Paranormal New Zealand, Haunted Auckland, on all things paranormal this week on the Pilot Show. We will be right back after this track, which is a track from a band called Black Velvet Butterfly, Kiwi band, Ghosts of the Haunted Streets.
Us meet somewhere discreet. We shall rave in the catacombs with rats and bats in the jaws of doom. Oh, bring me the night. Oh, bring me the night. Oh, bring me the wind, the rain. Oh, bring me the night.
Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
That's me. I'm here, and I'm back with Mark Wallbank from Paranormal New Zealand, Haunted Auckland. Accents. Do you ever... you never seem to hear people say they get a voice phenomenon and it's got an accent. Have you ever heard any with accents at all?
Not really. I've heard recordings of some that which I've heard. There's a team over in Scotland that I hang out with, and they had some which sounded like a Scottish accent, but it's very hard to decipher. I mean, it's hard to know because I mean I wasn't there, so it could possibly be one of the team members.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
See, what I say about accents is I was watching some historical video a couple of weeks ago, some very rare old black and white film from the early 1920s, I think, of the last American Civil War veterans marching in a parade, you know, and they were Confederates and they were Union soldiers together. But what struck me was they actually had them talking, and their accents weren't American. Some of them sounded Irish, some of them sounded Irish American, some of them sounded German, Scottish, you know. And then when you think about it, they would have been immigrants from other countries.
Yeah.
So if someone says they're getting a voice phenomenon from the early days of New Zealand, then it would stand to reason that it probably doesn't sound like a New Zealander today.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, we've found different inflections and different ways of speaking. Not so much accents, but just the way it's portrayed. Like we've had whispers, we've had growls, we've had sort of really sort of gravelly voices. We've had just sort of mumbly voices. Some of it sounds very mumbly and muffled, almost like it's a very not very trebly. It's very sort of bassy and muffled. Then we've captured our EVPs, which seem very trebly and they're very tinny sounding. It's almost like they've been transmitted onto the recording device electronically somehow. It's almost like a very trebly, tinny, sort of staticky sort of sound. So, yeah. Not so much accents, but just the way it's delivered. I think it's had some interesting sound.
Have you had some interesting EVPs that you could possibly say were something communicating with you, or have they pretty much just been random sort of?
We've had a couple of good ones. I mean, the EVPs that we've captured that I look into more seriously are the ones captured on video cameras, because that way you've got the video as well as the audio, and so you can see the scene around you. You can see who's in the room, and you've got a better idea. Whereas if it's just an audio recorder capturing it, you don't know who was in the room. You haven't got that setting laid out in front of you to sort of. All you can do is assume that it's a ghost. But we've captured one of the intriguing ones we do capture was at the Howick Historical Village. We were in one of the buildings there, and there was a few mannequins there. We went into one of the rooms, and there was a mannequin dressed up in a blue dress. And there was there were three of us, three guys. They were all men. The ladies were down the other end of the village, and they were in one of the other houses. So they weren't in the room, and we were just in there asking questions. And I went up to this mannequin, and it had a blue dress on. And I went up to her, and I was just joking around. And I said, "Oh, hello, love, nice blue dress," just jokingly. And we recorded it on our audio recorders. And later, when we were listening to it, as soon as I say blue dress, there's a pause for a couple of seconds, and then something goes, white dress.
Ooh.
Somebody says white dress. And it's clear as day, and it's a woman saying white dress. And we didn't hear it at the time. We heard it, but we all heard it. There were like three guys. It wasn't any of us. And we played it to the manager of the village there at the time. And we said, this is interesting. I don't know. Here's something we captured. Just wanted to know what you thought. And she came back and she said, this is very interesting because the very day that we were there, earlier in the afternoon, they changed all the clothing on those mannequins, and that blue dress mannequin had a white dress on, and she was fascinated because that, and we didn't know this, and she said that the mannequin actually had a white dress on that day, but it was changed.
So that's kind of weird, eh? Like,
it's interesting, yeah.
It is.
So maybe the
weird.
ghost there still thought that dress was white, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's correct.
Yes, maybe to them that is white.
Yeah, or maybe they're still seeing in its original dress.
Could be.
And here's me going, oh, nice blue dress. And they're saying, no, what are you talking about? It's white. It's a white dress.
Paranormal After Dark. with the Roadie.
Right on the edge of the world, where the answer's digital, and the solutions are all single. Questions are what can be done, never what is right or wrong. There's a virtual way to solve wrong. Question the
Me indeed, the Roadie, here on Paranormal After Dark. That was Blaze Bayley from 2000's Silicone Messiah album and Ghost in the Machine. This is Paranormal After Dark. I'm chatting with my very special guest here on the pilot episode, Mark Wallbank from Paranormal New Zealand and Haunted Auckland. So Mark, graveyards, have you ever picked up any sort of EVPs in graveyards or seen any ghosts in graveyards? I'm just curious about that.
Not yet. No, I like to spend a lot of time in graveyards. I spent many years of my life just sitting. I like to go and sit in them and just relax. They're peaceful places, and I often talk. I just sit there and just talk to whoever might listen, mostly out of respect and compassion, and just one day hopefully somebody will communicate back. But I don't know. I mean, I don't. I've always been a believer that a ghost will sort of hang around where it died, pretty much that area. Or wherever the soul leaves the body. Wherever the soul leaves the body, perhaps that's where they are destined to stay. I find it very hard to understand when somebody goes overseas and they die overseas, yet their ghost appears at the house.
Yeah, see, that's what's always amused me about the Larnac legends, right? Old man Larnac topped himself up in Wellington, yet we allegedly see him in the house here in Dunedin. And I kind of think, well, okay, so do these things travel? Do they just decide one year, I think I'll go there, you know what I mean? It's kind of yeah, interesting. I'm a bit like you. I like to sit in graveyards. I'm more of a historical thing. I'll look at it and go, well, that's fascinating. Reading about people, you can often learn about the history of, well, areas or people or whatever. But yeah, I'm just curious about that, because you often hear of ghost teams going to graveyards and allegedly there was a Coast to Coast AM I listened to a few months back where a group had been going to a mausoleum in Los Angeles and they claimed to be picking up EVPs there, which I was always skeptical about. Yes, there were some compelling recordings, but then I thought, well, you're in a mausoleum, you're in a big city. How many other people are around? How many other people could be around that you don't know are around? And just, yeah. And a lot of them didn't make sense. Like, for example, they'd ask something and the EVP they got would be saying something totally random.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, is that some dude on the other side of the graveyard talking that you don't know about,
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time at Waikamete Cemetery. That's in Auckland here. It's one of the largest cemeteries in New Zealand. And there's been a couple of times where I've been there, and you'll just be by yourself, sitting there in peace and quiet. And all of a sudden, you'll hear this scream coming from the darkness. There'll be some sort of howling scream, like some Bigfoot creature or something. I don't know, some bizarre
possum
thing. But you find out there's crackheads living in the bush.
Crackheads living in the bush.
Yeah, they're all just living in the bush. They just sort of they just camp out on the ground. They're all homeless people, but they're all meth heads. And they just get a bit messed up and start howling, and makes you think for a few minutes, though.
Meth heads in the bush howling like Bigfoot or Big Feet. That brings me on to the subject of cryptids. Let's have a chat about that quickly. Have you ever researched cryptids, and have you ever heard of any in New Zealand here?
Yep, that's another thing I've been researching all my life, really. That and UFOs. In New Zealand, we haven't got the cryptids on the levels that the UK or the US have. Of course, we're a smaller piece of land, so of course we're going to have less cryptids. But we do have our fair share of unusual animals. We even have a few lake monsters that have been seen, and they go back to Maori folklore as well. There's a lot of lake monsters and sea creatures and things. We even have, there's a myth about the Moeho man, which is supposedly New Zealand's Bigfoot. But that's pretty much a myth that was started back in the 1800s, where a gorilla escaped from a ship. There was a ship that was in port, and I think it was down in the South Island, actually, and the gorilla got loose for a bit and sort of went on a bit of a rampage and ran around, and people sort of saw it. And the stories of that sort of carried on for quite a few decades, and until a couple of brothers decided to do a bit of a prank. And so they used some of the stories of this gorilla on a rampage, and they mixed it up with some of the Maori folklore, because there is Maori folklore of the Moeho people. They were like a hairy race of creature people, I guess, that used to live in the time of the Moriori, and they were labelled as guardians of Mount Moeho and guardians of the forest. And they were quite well respected. They were quite ferocious creatures, actually. They had sharp teeth and fangs, and they were quite savage. But they were only claimed to have been around about 5 foot tall. They weren't Bigfoot size. They were just short, vicious little critters, really.
That whole cryptid thing, it's funny, but in recent years, people have begun to tie that, especially Bigfoot, into ufology. And I always thought as a kid, I remember watching Bigfoot things going, they don't find any bodies and these things disappear. And I remember being 11 or 12 going, what if these things get on spaceships and bugger off, right?
Yeah.
And then
lights have been seen. Lights have been seen when there's been Bigfoot experiences. So, I mean, it's not something you could. I mean, I like the idea of Bigfoot being flesh and blood creatures, but you have to look at some of these sightings and some of the experience that people have had with them, and they do actually disappear. They seem to just disappear from view, almost like they walk through a portal. Or something like that, and lights are seen in the vicinity of Bigfoot sightings. So it's something that, I don't know, I mean, while I do like the idea of aliens and all that, I kind of would like it to keep away from the whole Bigfoot thing, because I like Bigfoot being a flesh and blood creature that's living in the depths of various countries and surviving and just staying hidden. I like that. I like that one.
We definitely have to talk UFOs on an upcoming episode, Mark. But right now, I want to touch on something that you see a lot on some of the TV shows and a few channels on YouTube. Spirit boxes. I'm a bit sceptical. And you and I have talked about this before, but we're going to talk about this on here because we're on FM radio. The one that I love to bits is the old investigators that get the FM radio and put it on reverse scan.
Oh, yeah.
And then have conversations with one word. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, spirit boxes are these.
Yeah. It's like, again, how can you believe that? I've got a radio here, right here in the studio, that I could put on reverse scan right now, and we could probably have a conversation with someone.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that people buy into that. And the other thing that gets me is the ones that have been the most compelling for me when I've seen things like that is when they get a sentence out of a box or out of a recorder, because surely if you're having a conversation with something that's supposedly intelligent, it's going to give you more than one random word answer.
That's right.
I
mean, can you imagine if you're a ghost and you're on the other side and you're trying to communicate? Are you just going to throw out random words?
Exactly. One word, someone says to you, how do you see us? And you just go, dark. I mean, are you going to say, or light? I mean, I'm going to say, I can see a light, or I can see a shape, or it just, the whole it's coming from an entertainment background. It's really amusing how you can get into people's heads and play with things, and and they believe it, man. They believe it.
The people that create these gadgets, all these ghost hunting gadgets, I mean, they're creaming it. They're making an absolute fortune, and it should be illegal, really, because basically we're dealing with an unknown. It's a great unknown. We don't even know what ghosts are. We don't even know if they really do exist. We don't even know if they do exist. We don't even know what they're created of. What are they made of? And to create a gadget that'll interact or detect or monitor a ghost, you need to know what a ghost is made of.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And this ties back into the UFO alien thing again. I mean, what's to say that a ghost isn't an extraterrestrial being that we're seeing?
Exactly. Yeah. I've had people come to me and say, Mark, why don't you use spirit boxes? And I say, because they're junk. And they'll say, well, no, we should, because we use them all the time. We use them all the time, and we get amazing evidence. We get incredible evidence. And I say to them straight up, it's like, if these spirit boxes genuinely could interact and communicate with the other side, don't you think scientists and science in general would take a great interest in it? Because that's pretty groundbreaking stuff.
Exactly.
That's world changing. That is world changing. That is groundbreaking. That is it answers the biggest questions in the whole universe, in this whole planet that have ever existed, and it would change the world as we know it. It's huge. If we could communicate with the other side and the dead, it would change everything.
Well, that's what I say is, how can they say they've got groundbreaking evidence? To me, you could say, hey, I got some interesting voices or interesting words out of it, but can you really say? And I've even heard people say, "Oh, I spoke to Eddie Van Halen." Well, did you really? How do you know you spoke to Eddie Van Halen? I mean, if I'm on the other side and for some reason I'm near where you investigators are talking, and I can hear it, and they're going, "Oh, I want to speak to Eddie Van Halen." I'm going to come forward and go, "Yeah, dude, I'm Eddie Van Halen. Prove that it's Eddie Van Halen." They have contact with famous people. Like they don't just you don't just have contact with like Festus that was a bloody medieval peasant in England who happened to work the land. It's always someone rich and famous.
I talked to a guy once that he swears that he had spoken to Elvis. And he was just chatting away to Elvis and he was having a great old talk. And I thought, did you really though? Did you really?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was an impersonator.
Yeah. Elvis on the other side of the world is going to suddenly talk to somebody down in New Zealand.
Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
I'm the ghost of this town. I'm the ghost of this town. I say things I don't mean to people I don't know. I'm the ghost of this town. There's a hole in the ground. Oh, there's a hole in the ground. And if I knew any better, then you know I get to thinking of stopping and turning around. 'Cause that hole's more than 6 feet down. Well, I think I love you, but it's getting pretty hard to tell. Oh. I'm the ghost of this town. Oh, I'm the ghost of this town. I say things I don't mean to them people I don't know. I'm the ghost of this town. I'm the ghost of this town. And I know I'm not fooling no one. And I know I'm not fooling no one.
The Eastern Ghost of This Town. You're on Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie and my special guest here on the pilot, Mark Wallbank from Paranormal New Zealand, Haunted Auckland. We're talking about spirit boxes at the moment, so back to the chat. This is recorded in 2022. I've got another show coming up soon, recorded recently with Mark, which I'll tell you about very soon. The other thing that I'd love to see too, like they talk about how they claim they're using, the FM radios because spirits can manipulate things and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the program you and I are speaking on now, we're at opposite ends of the country. If I'm on the other side, and why don't they manipulate things like this and talk to us?
Yeah.
That's
right.
Why don't I get a random?
How would they know about this technology?
Well, that's exactly it. Well, that's the thing that gets me too, dude. They're in these old. What was it? The Tennessee Wraith Hunters were at Gettysburg, right? And they're talking to this dude with come and touch this antenna, and I'm thinking, if I'm a Civil War guy from 1865 and I died in the Civil War, you tell me touch an antenna, I'm going to go, what the hell's an antenna?
Yeah. I've seen you know what a K2 meter is, eh?
Yeah.
I've seen so many YouTube clips where teams will be out at some ancient old area, at the same ancient location, and they'll be talking, we're talking like 1,000-year-old or quite a few hundred years old, and they'll be sitting there going, make the K2 go to the red, make the K2 go to the red.
Yeah.
How is somebody hundreds of years old going to know what a K2 is?
Well, that's
and how
exactly
are
it.
they going to make it go into the red?
And
what does that even mean?
Well, that's exactly it. And also, what does red mean? If you're like sitting in a place where the person doesn't speak English, or they spoke Old English, do they even know what red is?
Wasn't it Most Haunted, that TV Most Haunted, that went to Russia or something or other, and they were speaking English to some Russian ghost, and they were talking English, asking their questions in English.
That's right.
To some ancient Russian ghost, yeah.
That's right. And that's what pisses me off is people will believe that, right? But then they'll sit there and they'll say, well, look, Star Trek, they all talk to each other in English. And I'm thinking, well, one, they're kind of inferring that there's some sort of translation device in the future they can talk to, or they're just saying, look, they're speaking English because they're on an English TV show, right?
Yeah,
but,
right.
but at least they always talk about a universal translator. But you go on shows like that and it's like, I'm talking to this ancient Russian and he understands every word I'm saying. Perhaps they do. Perhaps we do on the other side. I don't know. But to me, it would seem unlikely that, you're going to get someone to be able to use... It's like the FM radio technology. You're talking to someone from the 19th century, use the FM radio. Well, how am I going to go through each station and pick up a word to say, see the light? I mean...
Yeah.
It's pretty... it's interesting.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it, really?
It is, really. Well, that's been the pilot episode of Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie. Thanks a lot, Mark. Been good to have a chat.
We will do. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. See ya. Bye-bye.
Mark will be back on future episodes of Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie, including an episode about Jeff the Talking Mongoose coming up soon. If you want to know more about that, you'll just have to pay attention to the Rocket page and social media and see when the next show's on, and you can hear that chat. This is the Roadie signing off.
Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
And my shadow has life of its own, watching you while you sleep all alone. You lie I'm condemned to the long, endless night, and I live